Hello, everybody. Today we are going to review the movie The Kissing Booth 2. So I think one of the things I wanted to touch on just before we get into the second movie here is actually what I missed in the first movie, which was that her mother actually passes away. So it was kind of dark themed to begin with at the first one, and they kind of did a similar start to this one, but it wasn't quite as intense as this other one. So this one, I would say, starts off a little, well, I guess not dark, quite as dark as the first one, but it's, I guess, supposed to be kind of themed that way, where she's kind of sad and distraught and depressed about basically being alone for most of the summer, obviously because Noah's gone. And, I mean, she still has Lee, but Lee has his girlfriend now, Rachel. And so there's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie, actually. I would say this movie stuck more with the drama side of things than, I mean, it still had its funny moments for sure, but I would say it was more of a, I guess maybe what they're trying to go for is romantic comedy, maybe, but it seems more like a drama-based movie, like a romantic drama. I don't know what other way to describe these movies. And I'm kind of confused as to what age they're supposed to be, because I thought they were supposed to be high school seniors. And I know Noah's obviously off in college, or sorry, university, I guess, because he got into Harvard. So he clearly is a very smart kid. But I'm not really sure on what their actual age is supposed to be. I'm still kind of lost on that. But just because they were drinking in a bar, and the first one made a little bit more sense because or maybe it was an on-campus bar, I don't know. But the first one made a little more sense because at least they were drinking at like a high school party, so it wasn't like anybody had control over it, right? It kind of made a little bit more sense, but seeing them in a bar was kind of weird. That is for sure. So, yeah, just it was a little different. So let's start off with what happens. Obviously, Noah's gone. Lee and Rachel are together. And in the beginning, I think they're both, obviously, Lee and Elle, who she doesn't even go by Shelley anymore. She just goes by Elle Evans in this movie. And we have Lee Flynn, Noah Flynn, obviously. And then we have Mrs. Flynn, who seems to have a more prominent role in this movie. She was in the first movie a little bit. And then we have these two new characters that are introduced, kind of just to stir up the pot, I would say. Marco Valentina Pena and Chloe Winthrop. And they are both played by Taylor Zakar Perez and Macy Richardson, I guess just /Cell. And Rachel is played by Megan Young. And then Mr. Evans also is in the movie. He's played by Stephen Jennings, and Carson White plays Brad Evans, Elle's little brother. There are other people in this movie, but they're kind of more secondary characters as far as that goes. But there was one character that she speaks to throughout the movie. I believe it was Miles that she's talking to. I think it's him. And he is into this other guy. I think Cameron, if I'm remembering correctly, was the other guy he was into. And Miles plays for the football team, so he's obviously scared of what the other guys will think if he's gay. Which, I mean, in today's day and age, it shouldn't really matter, right? Like, it's not a big deal anymore, or it shouldn't be a big deal anymore to, like, you're attracted to what you're attracted to. Who cares? That's the way it should be, but people still make a big deal out of it for whatever reason. But I think if we didn't make a bigger deal out of it, there wouldn't be, a fight over everything, and it's just kind of ridiculous. But that's just me going on a little bit of a rant. So, Elle is going to visit Noah in Boston because she's considering going to Harvard now to be with him, and she wants to obviously meet this Chloe girl that he's been hanging around with because she has her suspicions. I mean, Noah didn't have the best track record in the first movie, and obviously he hasn't had the greatest past with women. He's kind of slept around because he's a football player and jock mentality kind of thing. And he's obviously very suave with the ladies, as we learned from the first movie, because he was very protective of Elle, but he also at the same time was attracted to her, and he knew how to be charming, I guess is the best way to put it. I don't know what other way to put it. So in this movie, he does show that he's changed quite a bit. I think he wanted. He does say near the end of the movie that he wanted what Elle and Lee had, his brother, as friends. He kind of wanted that with a girl to have as a friend, I guess, to have around, to kind of have like that same connection, somebody to just do fun stuff with, and it ended up just being her that he meets, and they just kind of clicked, I guess, as friends. And I guess Elle's first suspicion was when she finds this earring under the bed, and she believes it might be Chloe's. So she does some digging on Instagram, then finds out that the earring is Chloe's, so that just makes her think even more that Noah's cheating on her. And then we throw in this Marco character that's at the beginning, and she says some stuff over the PA system about him, like a lot of stuff. Oh my god, I thought it was never going to end. It was like an on-running joke, but I mean, it was still a funny scene. And then Lee and Elle are entering this dance competition in order to win them $50,000 so that Elle has enough money to get into school. And Lee ends up faking this injury. At the same time, he's also trying to spend some time with his girlfriend Rachel, who wants space away from Elle because Elle seems to be involved in every aspect of their life, and Lee's having a hard time letting go of that because Elle's his best friend, so they're struggling in their relationship, and now Noah and Elle are struggling in their relationship, even though it's pretty much one-sided. She does bring up the earring thing to Noah, and Noah says he doesn't know how it got there, which they kind of make it seem like it's a suspicious thing, right? Like, oh my god, how did it get there, sort of thing. But I kind of had faith in him from the beginning of the movie that he wasn't going to be cheating. Anyway, as we go on, Lee fakes an injury and gets this Marco guy to step in and do the dance competition with Elle. Of course, she starts to fall for him due to some of the things he's been saying about her and just being together most of the time. She's kind of found a new friend after Rachel blows up on her about not spending or just staying in the group even though she's been told not to, because she thinks that Lee has actually told her that they needed some space. So things get crazy at the Thanksgiving dinner that they're having together. Elle gives Chloe back her earring, tells them where they found it. She storms off, and by this point I think Rachel and Lee had stormed off too, because Lee had found out that not only had Elle applied to Berkeley, she'd also applied to Harvard and a couple other schools in Boston, so he was upset about that, because they had planned to go to Berkeley together ever since they were kids, I guess, but obviously things change when you get older, and you can't hold that against people. It's just some of the stuff that they hold against one another is a little ridiculous, right? They have this like huge set of rules that they can't do certain things, and it's like that's going to all change when you grow up. It just makes sense that the feelings, like as a kid, you're just going to be a kid. You're not really thinking about things that you would think about once you're a teenager and adult. You grow up and your feelings change towards people. So, I mean, I get the premise of the movie, like it makes sense, but also at the same time, you have to forgive your friends a little bit. And I mean, there obviously is some trust issues if you feel like there's certain things you can't tell one another. So eventually Noah gets to the point where he starts lying about hanging out with Chloe, which isn't good because Elle at this point already has these ideas in her head. So it just gets really messy. And then when her and Marco actually do the real dance competition. They almost kiss once before in the arcade where they're doing the choreography or whatever for the actual dance competition. Because it's like Dance Dance Revolution type deal, but I can't remember the actual name of the game that they're playing, and they have to go on this show and do the dance like to the steps and get a high score, but also wow the judges at the same time. And then, of course, they end up kissing on the actual live competition, and Noah's in the audience, and he storms off. So I don't know, he kind of makes it look like he's trying to be with Chloe, even though Chloe, I don't know whether she was also gay and just was able to, whether she was also supposed to be gay, because it kind of hinted at that a little bit, but she also just said that she was able to avoid the charm of Noah Flynn, so it was kind of confusing a little bit there, but anyhow. So then obviously Marco does the stupid thing and tries to, get under Noah's skin by saying congratulations to his brother, and obviously that's not what Noah's problem was with him, but then you see Lee and, I think it was Lee and Elle, running away from the football game or whatever, and Marco tries to chase them down. And then we get to the kissing booth part of the movie, because I guess that's what the whole movie's kind of based around, is them getting this kissing booth going, and Lee's obviously forgiven Elle at this point. They've become friends again. So they do the kissing booth thing. He ends up getting back with Rachel because of it. I guess Marco tries one last ditch effort to talk to Elle, and she says that he's not the one. So he's kind of heartbroken a little bit, but I guess it's time for him to just kind of move on as well, right? It just makes sense to let go, even though he doesn't at the end when they're all at graduation and she's back with Noah. One of his buddies comes up to him and says it isn't worth it, and he goes, yes, it is. So it's kind of interesting to see where this third movie is going to go. And I believe at the end, Elle had been accepted into both schools. So she said she was on the wait list, but turns out she's not. So things are going to get very interesting now. And there was this big, huge scene between Elle and Noah where they forgave each other. And Chloe finally tells Elle that there was nothing going on between her and Noah, and that Noah brought her to Thanksgiving dinner so that her and Chloe could get to know each other better and become friends. So it's just a whole mess of a situation, and obviously don't lie to your significant other. Be honest. It's just so much easier, because a lot of this could have been avoided if they'd just been honest with one another right from the beginning and not kind of, tiptoed around the truth. But anyway, that's the way the movie went, and that's why I thought this one was a little bit better, because they stuck more with the drama storyline than comedy. Don't get me wrong, it still had its funny moments. I don't think this movie would do quite as well if it was all serious all the time. Obviously, it has to be somewhat funny, I think, just because they're supposed to be high school seniors going into college, and the humor just works with what it is. But yeah, there were obviously a lot of relationship issues, more than the first one in this one for sure. And I don't really know. I think Lee and Rachel are good together, but I don't really know if Noah and Elle are the greatest couple together, because it kind of seemed like there's a lot of tension still there, but I guess maybe because it's a fresh relationship and they're still working on things, and the long distance thing probably didn't help either. But yeah, I have to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I thought it was much better than the first one. Now, I can't remember what I rated the first one, but I'll go back and actually look at that, if I actually did rate it on here. Let me see. Yeah, I give the first one a 5 out of 10, and this one a 7 out of 10. So the sequel is better. There is a third movie now, so I'm going to watch it this morning and see what it's all about, and see where it goes. Because, yeah, I just thought this one was quite a bit better, because they just seem to stick more with one script rather than it feeling like two movies like the first one. So other than that, we kind of left on a cliffhanger with Elle trying to pick what school she's going to go to. So let's see. I'm going to see where this goes, because these films are actually kind of interesting in a way. for Netflix, for just Netflix alone movies, because it is just a Netflix film. Sometimes Netflix films are hits, and sometimes they're misses. I would say these ones are kind of leaning more towards the sides of a hit rather than a miss, because a lot of movies don't really do well on when they're just Netflix movies for some reason, but I think this series, I guess, is kind of a little bit better than most. But anyway, that's all I can say for this movie. So as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film if you've seen it. If not, it is probably on Netflix. It'll probably stay on Netflix. It'll probably be one of the ones that just stays there. So that's all I have to say for this film, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.